So that was compliance policies. Hopefully that was a good sort of brief overview for you to give you a bit of an idea of what they do and what sort of criteria you can use. I'm going to move on now to configuration profiles. And the key thing on configuration profiles is we're pushing settings to devices, we're configuring devices rather than evaluating them and reviewing settings on them. So a few things worth knowing is, again, the huge benefit, especially since obviously the pandemic and a lot more people are working remotely and working from home. The key thing is we can configure our devices centrally, regardless of whether they're on our network or not. We can configure them over the internet, basically, which is one of the benefits over sort of group policy. You know, we can always manage these devices properly when they're not on our network. The policies we can configure, the types of devices we can configure: Windows devices, iOS devices, Android devices, and Mac. We can do a certain amount of configuration on Mac OS devices as well. And the other thing as well is that they do support compliance policies. What I mean by that is they complement them. So if you've got an example of this would be for your compliance settings, if one of your compliance settings is to require BitLocker or to require Windows Defender or whatever it is that you're doing on there, whatever it is that you're looking for from a compliance perspective, we can basically use configuration profiles to push settings that match that. So we can actually use configuration profile, for example, to configure BitLocker to enable it, whereas compliance policy will just check for it. We can actually push a configuration profile to enable it as well. So the two things can the configuration profiles can support the compliance policies as well. So the sort of type of things that we can do within Windows is we've got a lot of options in here that we can configure on Windows device. So I'm just going to show you a couple now. You'll recognize that a lot of them are very similar to group policy, but this is the Endpoint Manager Admin Center and the configuration profile section. And we're just going to go in and show you the Windows 10 template. So you can see we can do device restrictions. We can do sort of VPN, Wi-Fi. We can do admin templates that become group policy. We can push a lot of different settings to these devices, certificates. There's a lot we can do from this portal. But we're just going to go in. I'm just going to show you a few settings. I'm just going to configure a particular OneDrive setting just to sort of show you how it would apply. So you can see this, the computer config, the user config on the left, very similar to group policy in terms of the type of terminology you would see. You can see in OneDrive here all of the settings that we've got that we can configure on our devices. But again, the key part is that would all be done over the internet rather than sort of being on network. So what we're going to do here is we're going to find the setting for the backup or the silent remove of known folders like the pictures and documents and desktop folders on the device, and basically force the OneDrive client to basically pick those up and redirect them to OneDrive, so the user's files and folders are always pointing to OneDrive. So you can see there, we can tick the folder options, we enable the policy. Just once we've configured that, before we go through it next, I just want to show you a couple more settings that we've got in here. So obviously we can go into control panel, configure this type of things we would group policy in here. We've got user configuration, all the Office apps, go into Outlook. We can see we can configure account settings in there as well, you know, so we can configure automatic adding of accounts in Exchange, how long we want it to sort of have offline data for, all this sort of stuff that we've typically, a lot of it we're familiar with configuring, but we can do a lot of it from Endpoint Manager directly now. And then you just want to scope the policy. We scope the policy to an AD group if it's a more granular policy, just to a certain few users, or we can apply it to all users and devices as well. So we're just going to apply it to our testing group, which I'm a part of. So the policy will be scoped to myself, and that policy is now created. So once the policy is created, we want to see how successfully the policy is applied to the devices, basically, and this is where it is a little better than that group policy, as well as it does actually give us a little bit more feedback on the device's sort of status for that policy being applied from the console. So sort of just jump across this next clip here, and we go down to configuration profiles. Okay, so you can see on the screen there, we've gone into the test admin profile. So we'll go back to devices, go into configuration profiles, we select the test admin template. We can see that the policy is successfully applied, but then we can see specifically what setting has applied to the device from the policy there. So we can see, so if you had, obviously you might have a lot of settings in here, you might have all the Outlook ones, all your Office ones, all those policies in here. And you could sort of see a granular report here to show which have succeeded and which haven't. And then under state details, you'd see if there's a reason why it hadn't actually applied. So that's really useful. That's one of the things that I really like about the portal. Is the feedback we get from it is really useful. So, and then this was just a screenshot from my device. Literally, it took about 10 minutes for this to apply. And then you can see there on the screen, this was my OneDrive, where we've got, now you can see the desktop's backed up in there, the documents are backed up, and the pictures folder are all backed up now at OneDrive. So if I did want to jump on another machine, those things will be pulled down with my OneDrive as well. So it makes the mobility and switching devices, that particular policy, a lot easier to apply. But I would encourage you to look at Microsoft documentation, or to go into your portal and just have a good look through the settings that you can apply through these configuration policies.